if I told you that the biggest challenge facing writers today isn't plot lines or sales, it's solitude? We write stories to connect with people, but writing is one of the loneliest things you can ever do. Today we'll talk about why today's modern writer is more isolated than ever, the effect that may have on creativity and the literary world, and what you can do about it. I'm Kendall and this is Plot to Print, and up until fairly recently, I was pretty private about the ideas that I had, the stories that I was working on, and I enjoyed the quiet time with myself and the page. I also didn't really know a lot of times how to explain what I was working on to people, and I think that this is sort of a common sentiment that people have, or writers have at least. They don't really always know their elevator pitch. And so if you don't know, an elevator pitch is basically the one or two lines that you use to summarize the current project that you're working on. So let's say you were stuck in an elevator with a producer or someone else who was interested in hearing what you were working on. You're basically supposed to be able to summarize your project into one or two concise lines that lets that person know what exactly your book or story or script is about. And so, like a lot of writers, I was no different. I didn't have an elevator pitch, and I really didn't feel like I needed to work on one because I didn't really plan on sharing my work with the outside world anyway until it was finished, and I also didn't have a place to share it. Flash forward to today, and I'm a lot different. But let's say you're already there. You're already at that point where you're willing to share. So do writers have the same communities that they had in the past to workshop and get feedback for their work today? Throughout history, writers gathered in cafes and pubs to discuss their work, to discuss literary movements, art and philosophy, and everywhere in between. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis shared chapters at Oxford. Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald gathered in Paris, and Jack Kerouac and William S. Burroughs spurned the whole Beat generation. In finding like-minded writers and sharing their work with each other, they inspired each other and the world. But do circles like that exist anymore for the modern writer? A lot of writers today find themselves enrolling in an MFA program to sort of get that same sense of community, workshopping, and feedback, as well as to network. So what happened? We can't pretend that it's just writers today who feel lonely. There's reports all the time of people from every walk of life, profession, and pursuit who feel more isolated than ever. The rise of social media as a proxy for in-person socialization is certainly to blame, but with that not seeming like it's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, is there anything that we can do about all this isolation that we might be feeling? And for writers, is it necessarily a bad thing? So let's focus on that last question first. There are plenty of writers who were like me, who took a sort of monistic approach to their writing, locking themselves away, and just kind of having a work with no distractions. And that kind of laser-like focus can actually be really good. If this works for you and your process, that's perfectly fine. And you can still delve into social media without getting too carried away and having it affect your process. But what if you are looking for some sense of community? Would you benefit from one? I'd err on the side that in today's day and age, any sort of community that you can build and foster is probably a good thing, especially one that's shared around a certain creative pursuit or hobby. Whether virtual or in person, having a writer's community can help you work on your elevator pitch so that you can, concisely explain what your book is about. And it can also help to keep you motivated. Isolation may work for some people, but for others, it can definitely feel like you're just writing into a vacuum. Seeing what other writers are working on can help keep you on track, even if it's from a competitive angle. Also, being in a writer's group might inspire you to share your work. You can share a chapter or just an excerpt or whatever you feel like sharing. And you can also ask for the all-important feedback. And so feedback is a super important part of the writing process. It's great for anybody to have. And I would really encourage, if you're in any kind of group who offers feedback, to take advantage of that. You'll also encounter writers who are at different parts of the writing journey and in different parts of their writing career. And a lot of times these people can have really helpful insights and great tips, and you can also add things to their world as well. So it's definitely a quid pro quo. I should also say the people that you interact with early on in your writing journey can definitely become some of your biggest supporters later on. They're basically stuck with you throughout your whole writing journey, and when your book is finally ready to come out or your project is complete, a lot of times these people will be, the most excited about it. So building that community early on can really be a great asset to you. In-person writers groups can be found on websites like Instagram and Meetup, or if virtual writers groups are more your thing, you can definitely find them all over the place on sites like Facebook, Reddit, or Discord. Whatever you're comfortable with, there's always a different way to meet and commune with different writers. So while the internet has made us more isolated than ever, it's also made it easier to find one another, and there are plenty of people looking to be found. I think because writing is so isolating and lonely, that writers are some of the most friendly people and open people as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to your either local or virtual writers community. There's lots of friendly people there. And creative people are just fun. They're just generally nice people. So whichever way you choose, reach out, share what you're working on, because books and writing are more at risk in today's day and age than ever. So right now, us as writers really need to be loud and proud about it. We need to foster that community with each other and find each other and just share the love of writing. So what have you done to foster community? Have you participated in a writing group? Feel free to share what you've done down in the comments or what you'd like to do, and I'm definitely interested in reading those. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like or a subscribe so we can keep making the videos, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, and bye.